welcome back to my channel. I am Amber from Amber's Books and More, and today I have my September wrap-up. So, I have quite a few books. I'm actually really proud of myself, but the thing is with September is like the first 2 weeks, like week and a half, I was totally having a book slump, and I didn't read anything for over a week. So, the fact that I finished as many as I did makes me really happy, and let's just go ahead and jump right in and get going. So the first book that I read is The Bridesmaid by Hayley Abbott. This was the Java and the Librarians September book of the month. And this is basically about a girl who her family runs a wedding planning business kind of thing. So she lives in a place where they have weddings. And her sister always joke around about the bridezillas. And then now her sister is suddenly getting married. And her sister kind of starts to act like a bridezilla. And it's kind of how she reacts to that. It's her story. It's also kind of like a contemporary. So it's actually really cute. I believe I gave this 3 stars on Goodreads. And if you like fluffy, cute, quick, easy to read contemporaries, then I suggest reading this. So the next book I got because it is a fellow booktuber here on BookTube that wrote it, and I was really excited when I saw that he had a book, and it is The Library of Souls by Richard Denny. He is also Richard's Book Nook. I will leave him linked down below. So this is basically about a kid that can see ghosts, and he goes to these like haunted places, and now he's going to this library, which is like super, super haunted and crazy. And it's kind of his story about like what happens in that library. But it's got a really pretty cover. Richard, he did a really good job on this cover, and it was quick. It was easy to read. It was a little creepy, but it was really still a really cute story. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. So the next book I read was a graphic novel, and this was Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. I've been seeing this all over BookTube, and Julie over at Pages and Pens suggested that I get this one. She said it was really good, and I did, and it is really, really cute. So it's about a girl that can shapeshift, and she becomes a sidekick to the main villain of the story. And it's very funny, it's very touching, and it's got beautiful art. So it does have kind of a different art style than what I'm normally, see if you can see that, than I'm normally into. It is a bit more, I guess, cartoony. I like the more realistic artwork, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But it's still overall, it's really cute, and it was worth the read, and it's pretty big for a graphic novel. And I really liked it. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. So the next book I read was A Million Junes by Emily Henry. This was a Book of the Month Club book pick for, let's see, when did I pick this? June of 2017. So this was my June Book of the Month book, and it was kind of a magical realism about a girl she lives in kind of a magical house, and so it's kind of a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, but in present day. So it's got the girl and a guy, and their families are kind of warring. It's kind of more of a mystery of why are their families, so against each other. What happened to cause this? So when I was reading it, I remember thinking, this is like Romeo and Juliet if they were old enough to be of sound mind. Because, like, in that book, Juliet was like, what, 13 or whatever in the play? And they decided, instead of just being like, oh, I love you and let's kill ourselves because we can't be together or try to act like we kill ourselves, this is more of, let's find out what the heck is actually going on. So, but it was really, really good. I think I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, but I may be wrong. I'll check, and if I'm wrong, I'll put a note here. Did you see it? If not, then I'm right. I don't know. So I really enjoyed this Book of the Month Club book. So the next one I picked up was Emma in the Night by Wendy Walker. This was a September Book of the Month Club book. So this is the one that I just got in September. I was super excited about it, so I went ahead and immediately read it. So I liked this, but it's also not the best one. So it is kind of a psychological thriller, mystery kind of thing. There's these 2 sisters, Emma and Cass, and they go missing when Cass is only like 15 years old. They are gone for 3 years, and suddenly Cass has shown up again, and they need to find out, oh, where's Emma? What happened to Emma? And so it's kind of like a mystery where it kind of goes back and forth between the present and the past. But the only problem that I had with this book is it doesn't really show you. So instead of being like you see what's happening and they're showing you what's happening, it's kind of more the main character is telling you what happened. So it's like she's just telling a story. And I don't really care for the tell. I like the show versus tell. So it could have been better, and I believe I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, but it was decent. So the next one, I'm glad I finally picked this up, and it's Karvall by Stephanie Garber. So I got this back in February. It was the Owl Crate book, and I had saw that it was this book. I knew that this book was going to be the book basically, and so I went ahead and got it. And so it does have a signed book plate, so it is a signed book and everything. But I had heard such mixed reviews on this that I was scared to read it. But I'm actually really glad that I did because I ended up really enjoying it. It was very atmospheric and it had a good mystery. And the only thing that I will say that knocked it down a little bit for me was the thing that happens in a lot of books in YA specifically is that there are no consequences. And there weren't enough consequences. There were some consequences, but to me there were not enough consequences in this. They could have taken it further. Like they took it, but then they brought it back. It's hard to explain without spoilers, but overall, I believe I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I did actually quite enjoy it. So the next book I read, I was super excited about because for the job on Librarians a couple months ago, we read The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torrey, and so I loved it. It was like 5 out of 5 stars for me. So I went ahead and picked up the next book in that series, which is called Do Not Disturb by A.R. Torrey. My gosh, this one was even better than the first one. I don't know how she did it, but she managed to make an entirely new story out of the same situation and have it be so good. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. 100%. It is an erotic thriller, though to me this one had a lot less eroticism as the first one did. But the eroticism that she does it very well. And she just does a really good job at this. And I'm definitely picking up the third book in probably October and reading it because I freaking love this series. So the next book I picked up was Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. So I actually bought the God's Grave, the signed edition pre-order, but I had never read it. So I was like, well, I might as well pick up the first one. So I picked up the first one and I read it, and I didn't absolutely fall head over heels in love with it like most people are. Um, the thing is the writing style. The only other thing by Jay Kristoff that I had ever read was the Illuminate Files, and that you can't really call that a writing style because it's like mixed media, so it's gonna be different. But this one, he is the kind of author that does a lot of the. I'm trying to find a section here. So he does a lot of the like. I don't know if you can see it. Probably not. It's not very. There's not enough light in here, but he does the footnotes that go along with it, and I listened to this on audiobook, which kind of helped, I think, because they would read that part and then immediately read the footnote for it, and so it kind of flowed into one story. It just it was hard to get into. The first half of the book was a lot of world building, and it was very hard to get into. Now the second half of the book, action happened. It got much better, and I really really enjoyed it. So I believe I gave this like a 3.5 stars. I think on Goodreads I gave it 3, but it really is like a 3.5. I am gonna read the next book, so I definitely will continue on with the series. And I did really like Mia as a character because she's very gray and very like, is she evil? Is she good? Like she's questionable, and I really did enjoy that about her. But we'll see. Hopefully, I like the next book now that the world building part has been done. We'll see. So the next book that I read, which was actually like the last book of the month that I read, but the other books go together in a series. So I'm gonna talk this, but it's Because You Love to Hate Me. This is 13 Tales of Villainy, and it's edited by Anne-Marie, which is a booktuber here on YouTube. And basically, it is 13 booktubers gave a prompt to 13 YA authors to do with villains, and they wrote short stories, and they put it all together in here. First of all, this cover is gorgeous. I love this cover so much. And I actually really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. I normally am not a huge fan of like short story collections, but some of these authors did a really, really good job. So let me tell you which ones were some of my favorites. And oh, and because I pre-ordered, they sent me a signed book plate from Anne Marie, so that's kind of cool. Um, so Anne Marie wrote one called Jack about Jack and the Beanstalk, which was really really good. There was So Mancinani wrote one about Gwendolyn and Lancelot and Arthur that was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was a little different. It was like told through text messages, and I kind of liked that. Um, The Sea Witch by Marissa Meyer was probably my top tier 100 favorite. I really, really liked that. It was about the Little Mermaid, about Ursula, the Sea Witch. That was really, really good. Cindy Pon, I had never read anything by her. She wrote one called Beautiful Venom that was really good that I liked. Of course, Victoria Schwab's Death Now. I love Victoria Schwab. Let's see. What there was one more that I really, really liked. Oh, this one, it was Julian Breaks Every Rule by Andrew Smith, and he was set up with Raylene over at Padfoot and Bronx. I really enjoyed that one too, and I had never read anything by that author as well, but I did really enjoy this anthology, and I recommend it to anybody that likes short stories. So the next 5 books that I read were part of a series. It is a graphic novel series that Julie over at Pages and Pens recommended to me. Thank you so much, girl. I loved it, loved it, loved it so much. And it was the Wicked and the Divine series. And it's Gillen McKelvey Wilson Cowles. So basically, there's five. I read five, the 5 that are available. The 6th one doesn't come out until January, I believe. And so these were so good. I gave the first 2 were 5 out of 5 stars. The third one was probably more like 3 out of 5 stars because they used guest artists, and so the art styles were not nearly as good, and that's what really drew me into this story. And then the last 2 were probably both like 4 out of 5 stars. This last one was probably the hardest to get into because they changed it up a little bit. The first, so this has like what 4 or 5 different smaller chapter things, you know. If you read graphic novels, you know what I'm talking about. But the first one was done like a magazine with like you open up a magazine and you have to read all of the articles. That's kind of what it was, and that was really took a long time to get through. But then it picked back up to normal. So this one ended up being a 4 out of 5 stars for me. So let me just give you the names of them. So this one's called the Faust Act. I know I'm saying that wrong. And then the second one is called Fandemonium. And then the third one is called Commercial Suicide, which using different artists was kind of commercial suicide. Rising Action is number 4. And then number 5 is the Imperial Phase Part 1. So something really, really big happens in Rising Action that makes this one so different, and it makes it go in a completely different direction, but I like the direction that it's going. So basically, the story is about these gods and goddesses that they're all different. So some are Greek, some are Roman. There's just all different ones. And every 90 years, they are reborn into human bodies. So like they take over a human body, and they kind of come out. But then when they come out, they only have 2 years to live. And this happens every 90 years. So at the very beginning of this, it's in the 1920s, and it kind of shows how it ends for them, and then it goes into the present day, 90 years later, so like the early 2000s, so like in 2010-ish era. I think it's like 2012 or something like that. So there was these writers, they go for it. Let me tell you, let me put these down, they're heavy. So basically, it's really diverse. There's all different races. There's a lot of bisexuality, a lot of lesbianism, there's a trans character. I mean, there's a lot of diversity in these. And what really got me is the art. So I cannot show it to you without showing you some of this art. Am I right? So this is like the more realistic, colorful art, pop art that I'm really, really into. So here's one picture here. And I won't tell you who any of these characters are, but just, oh my god, I love this so much. Like, even first opening it, I was like, okay, this is totally my jam. It's my jam. This is my jam. And see, here's a god that is a black guy. Here, see? And he is bisexual. Like I said, there's a trans character. There's a multiracial characters. There's bisexual, there's lesbian, there's one character that is actually three people. I mean, it's just got so much going on. It's really, 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 really pretty, and I love it. Okay, so that's all that I read. Let's count. 14 books. 14 books in September, considering the fact that A, I didn't read for almost 2 weeks, and B, yes, 5 of those were graphic novels, 6 technically. So that leaves like 8 books that I read, like straight on books. That's really, really good. I'm really happy with myself. So, let me know. Have you read any of these books? Did you like them? Are you super psyched about October being spooky month like I am? Let me know down in the comments. So, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, have a great day wherever you are, and I love you. Bye.